Right, so let's review real quick. For the first part, we're going to start with exponents, but we're going to start simple. And what I mean with simple is the base is already the same. On each side of the equal sign, I only have one number. So when that happens, I'm just going to let the exponents equal each other. So I have that 3n plus 1 equals 2n minus 1. Right? I'm going to technically ignore the bases. The rest is just simple algebra 1. I'm going to separate them through the equal sign. My 2n, I'm going to move it to the left as a minus 2n. My plus 1, I'm going to move it to the right as a minus 1. So I get that 1n equals negative 2. That was simple. Looking at question number 14. I remember that 8 squared is equal to 64. So I'm going to replace my 64 with 8 squared. So I have that 8 to the 3r is equal to 8 squared to the 2r. I changed my 64 to the 8 squared just so I will have the same base. So on the left side, I have 8 to the 3r. On the right side, I have 8 to the 4r. I multiply my exponents. Now that I have only one number on each side, I have the same base. I'm going to let the exponents equal each other. So 3r is equal to 4r. Let me subtract 3r on each side. On the right side, I have 1r. On the left side, I have nothing. So r is equal to 0. For number 15, I'm going to remember a couple things. 3 to the third is 27. I'm also going to remember that 3 to the 5 is equal to 243. Okay. Having that said, I'm going to write 3 to the 5 over 3 to the 5 to the x is equal to 3 to the third. So I have that 3 to the 5 over 3 to the 5x is equal to 3 to the third. Looking at my fraction, I know in multiplication, I add my exponents. So in division, I subtract the exponents. That is basically saying 5 minus 5x as my exponent. Oops. Notice I subtracted 5 minus 5x. So I have 3 to the 5 minus 5x is equal to 3 to the third. Now I'm just going to let my exponents equal each other. Let me write that here. 5 minus 5x is equal to 3. Let me subtract 5. Negative 5x is equal to negative 2. Let me divide by negative 5. I know negative divided by negative divided by negative is positive, so I have positive 2/5. From the quiz tomorrow, questions 13 and 14, they're going to be 5 of these. Question number 15, I'm going to have 3 of these. So that's 8 out of 10. The last 2 are going to be graphs. Usually the y-intercept, right, the point where we cross the y-axis, usually is the point 0, 1. Let me point it out. However, I'm going to move this point. On the x minus 1, minus means to the right. I'm going to move to the right 1 space. It's opposite of what we think of. Now this minus 1 at the end, that's for my y value. That one I'm going to move down. So my point 0, 1, I'm going to move it 1 to the right, 1 down. So I'm going to have it here instead. So that gives me 1 point on my graph. I expect my graph to go up because it's 4. So I expected something like this. Let me pick another point on my graph. Because my number is a 4, my base is a 4, let me pick a positive value of x. Let's say 2. So I'm using the value of 2 for x. So I'm looking at this as 4 to the 1 minus 1, right? Since x is 2, I'm looking at 2 minus 1. That's where I got the 4 minus 1. I know 4 minus 1 is the same thing as 4 minus 1, so that's 3. That gives me a point on my graph. Let's find another point. I'm going to choose value of x to be 3. So I'm looking at this as 4 to the second minus 1. That's the same thing as 16 minus 1, so that's 15. That's another point. Let me plot these 2 points, 2, 3, 3, 15. I have a better idea how my graph looks like. I can graph it now, and there it is. I'm gonna have 2 of these on the quiz tomorrow.